Ooh, we just died in the actual boss fight of Metropolis Zone. We're lucky that we grabbed the checkpoint to the boss fight.
And their checkpoint is close to some rings. You know, one thing
Sorry, so carry on.
Oh, go ahead.
Alright then. Real. And can you remember when we was talking about Sonic 4 Episode 1 in the Let's Play? That we seen this boss before. And this is the same boss I was talking to you about. This is the boss that was copied from this stage on Sonic 4 Episode 1. So they're trying to bring that kind of nostalgic value. And then, yeah, like, which one do you think is much more harder?
This one looks to be a lot more harder, actually, because he's moving. The other one really didn't move that much. I mean, he did, but not really, and it was scripted attacks. This one, you kind of don't know when to hit him. Also, it seems as though Sonic 4 Episode 1 just totally ripped Sonic 2 for some reason. They really favored Sonic 2, and I'm not quite sure why. They did a rehash thing. And I'm not sure why they chose Sonic 2. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a great game, but they could have definitely given, I mean, this is like 12, 15, 19 something years later, they could have made something a little bit more original, I guess I'm trying to say. Or
I think that was the thing though, they wasn't trying to go for originality, they were just trying to go for the people that was saying, hey, I want 2D Sonic back. And they didn't, nobody didn't really ask for kind of like a sequel, but they just said, I want 2D Sonic back. And, you know, like, back in the mainstream again, around the time, so yeah. Especially putting nostalgic value into it as well, like, adding stages of reminiscence. Like, people's gonna say, hey, I remember this stage. And, like, now it's in HD.
I don't know, I don't know. I have my own thoughts on Sonic 4 and why it exists and things like that. And don't get me wrong, I love the game and I'm not against it or anything. It's just like, I would have preferred an original game. If I want it to be nostalgic, I would have, you know, hooked up my Genesis or downloaded on Xbox Live Arcade for the, you know, the re-releases. There's many compilations over the past few years that offer Sonic 1, 2, and 3 and Knuckles, but I just don't see any point in Sega wasting their time trying to recreate a game that's already been created. You know, they should just kind of go and build from that. And I've already seen parts of Sonic 4 Episode 2 where, you know, Oil Ocean has made a comeback pretty much.
Ice Cap Zone.
Yeah, and it seems like they're favoring Sonic 2 once again, but Ice Cap, you know, is from Sonic 3, but, you know, it's just like...
And a bit of Sandopolis as well from SNK.
It's just kind of like, what's going on, man? It's just like, come on, we want some newness with the old feel, because I totally sympathize for the classic fans. They missed something, and Sega tried to bring it back. It's just like, you're doing it wrong.
Doesn't help that they nitpick it like crazy though.
Yeah, that's true. The fans are not grateful at all for this, and they should be, because I still am waiting for, you know, my adventure-style Sonic 3D game. You know, Sonic 06 was the last one. I'm waiting for more, pretty much, and I don't believe I'm gonna get it. You know, and the Sonic fans that are getting their classic games, they got Sonic Generations, they got Sonic 4, and it's just like, you know, they got classic Sonic, and they keep on whining about his green eyes, and he's taller than it used to be, and this and that. And it's like, just go pick up a Genesis controller and play. It's not that bad. I mean,
the games didn't matter to you in 1998.
It sure didn't. And just like I have to do, you know, if I want to play a decent 3D Sonic game, I have to pick up my Dreamcast controller. So, you know, what's the big deal about them picking up a Genesis controller?
And I forgot to mention about Sky Chase Zone when you were talking all about that. Like we have been discussing about Sky Chase in the Sonic Adventure Let's Play, and you guys preferred this one, right?
Yes, the Sky Chase is awesome. It's just so hectic and therapeutic, and you know, it's cool. This actually reminds me of when they did land on the egg carrier, but it's just like it's kind of like Skydeck a little bit. The wind is flowing past you, the clouds, and you're on a ship and all this chaos. You really don't know where you're going, honestly, but you just know you got to keep moving.
Let's skip that the level. I'm at the end already.
And yeah, this part when I was talking about in Sonic Adventure, like Mario was doing Skycheck Sonic place, and I was talking about that this scene here is in the actual Skydeck part when you're about to shoot the cannon, the rocket at the cannon. And it was just that scene that you can see the events of it. And yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Like, Ring Fortress is the Skydeck of Sonic Adventure, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so.
A combination of Flying Battery and Wing Fortress?
Well, yeah, it's like every time they're in the year, it just doesn't feel kind of chaotic as it was in Sonic Adventure, I guess. It feels much more peaceful, as I said, Sky Jason, with the calmful, peaceful music, and then just here right now, it's just that he's having like a breeze of just holding on. Or should I just say that the animation wasn't going to try to do much more, but he does have a serious face, of course. That's a good thing about it.
Yeah, wow, this reminds me of Sonic Adventure 2 with the rocket. But yeah, that determination on his face, he's like, oh, I'm headed towards something. I don't even know what it is, but you better believe I'm gonna get there,
And in this part, I guess for me, did do a lot more for Sonic 2's credibility at the time, because this last stage was just plain epic. Metal Sonic and the final boss of Dr. Robotnik. And what do you guys think to it?
Wow, this is our first time ever seeing a Metal Sonic, or Mecha Sonic as the fans like to call him. Or no, I'm sorry, this is Mecha Sonic.
This is
Silver Sonic.
Silver Sonic.
Silver Sonic. When I was a kid, I called him Cyber Sonic. But, yeah, neither here nor there. But he's pretty aggressive. This Silver Sonic, and he I don't know, he's kind of generic. He's like a prototype to me. He's not the real deal, and you can kind of tell that because he's making all these noises, and he looks like he's not well put together. Not like Metal Sonic.
So what would be the difference of it, like the actual attacking abilities of Silver Sonic and Metal Sonic? So that means like Metal Sonic is much more faster?
Definitely. Metal Sonic can fly, for one. He looks more like Sonic. He has a lot. He can actually absorb Sonic's personality, absorb his attacks, and the personality of others and their attacks and their DNA, pretty much. And whereas this Sonic is just programmed to do a couple of attacks and look a little bit like Sonic.
Yeah. And another thing we explained in the Sonic 4 Let's Play is that this boss is definitely another copy or revamped version of this final boss. And do you think that it was much more harder to complete him in this game because of 0 rings, or a lot more easier because that you don't have to hit him about like 40 times in Sonic 4?
Ooh, that's a good question. What do you think, Jim?
Harder in this one.
To be honest, they're almost identical for me. I know there's some huge differences towards the final, couple of hits, but the motions, the attacks, it's exactly the same. I'm still just confused on how they could call it Sonic 4 when it's really just like Sonic 2 Part 2.
Episode 1 is more of a transition to the new adventure.
I hope so. I'm hoping that we'll get something completely new in the new game.
Because episode 2 is looking like to be a direct sequel to Sonic CD.
I'm hoping so. I really am. I just hope that they don't rehash it again. Even though I can tell that they already are, but I hope that they do it a little bit better.
That's very true. Like, they just need to bring some originality. And if they do copy more from Sonic CD's part, is that it will be quite interesting to see another Sonic CD style game, because other than Sonic CD in the franchises, hasn't been much more of a feel of a Sonic CD game, I guess.
No, you're right. Sonic CD is pretty much in its own group, its own tier, and that's why people love it so much. Me personally, I liked it, and I respect it, but it was just too different from the mainstream Sonic games for me. And I didn't get to play it as a kid. I was too young to own, to know that Sega CD existed, really. I just had my Genesis and I was happy. But when I go back and play it, it's like, wow, this is really different. You have to really respect it and take your time to actually play it and get the different endings and the different, things that you can get. And you have to explore a lot. It's not necessarily all about speed. And that's what makes Sonic CD likable, and that's what makes it unique. That's what people love it so much, just because it was like unique. It picked your brain. You had to really think about it. You couldn't just pick up the controller and go. You had to really play it like you would like a Mario game, or like a a non-traditional platformer, I guess.
That was the thing, that I did play it as a mainstream game, and then it felt so easy to me that it was the easiest out of the bunch of the classic games. Like, if you don't collect the time stones, then it would just feel like a game that's not really completed in some sense. It just feels like some fan just put so much platforms everywhere, and just like the level design for me was kind of like the unfilling part of it, because that it was just all mobile, all scattered around the place, and didn't really feel like they actually constructed it properly. Because I don't think it was it made by Sega Japan, or was it made by the Technical Institute, like in Sonic 2? Well, part of it was.
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not sure actually, but I do remember hearing about that, definitely. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure. That's a very good question, though. That would explain a lot.
Well, yeah, we're tackling through this the second time. This is the most interesting thing about Sonic 2, I think, is that you would be thinking that Super Sonic should have been canon in this part, but he doesn't even become canon because that Sonic's in space and he lost all his rings. So do you think that Super Sonic was canon at the part when he was holding onto the rocket and he was turning Super Sonic, and then he lost his rings while he was trying to get inside?
We could say that, it counted down all the way to 0 before he made it inside. Because that's something that's bound to happen. That's not really imagination or speculation. That's just how Super Sonic works. So I think it would be safe to say that he just ran out of rings.
Yeah, it's just because that I just can't see Super Sonic be zooming from one stage to the next and calling that canon. As I said, that in Sonic 3's and Sonic and Knuckles, most importantly Sonic and Knuckles, is that in Doomsday Zone, to actually get the true ending, you need Super Sonic.
Right. Yeah, in this game, Super Sonic was more of a bonus item, if anything. Which is why people loved Sonic 3 the most out of the bunch. And people will probably deny that, but it's true. You see people praise Sonic 3 and Knuckles so much because it's so cinematic, and really it's because of the Supersonic ending. And there's so much going on, and here we see Supersonic again. Wow.
Yeah, because that's quite weird, because that we used Sonic for the last boss, but now he transformed into Supersonic. Do you think that he was saving his energy to actually go back into space? But then that's the funny thing about it, that the credits is coming, he's still flying as Supersonic as well.
Wow, now that is where it turns into speculation and imagination, because that would make sense. Yeah, he maybe needs to be Supersonic to get back into the Earth's atmosphere, which is possible because Shadow, quote unquote, died the same way. And in Sonic Unleashed, he had to be the werehog, or I don't even remember how he got back into the Earth's atmosphere, but
Ship saved his life.
Ship saved his life. So it's safe to say that he can't survive in space, or he can't survive re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. So he needs to be supersonic. And it's safe to say that he was saving his energy.
Well, it looks like we have completed at last Sonic the Hedgehog 2. So what do you guys think overall to the whole game, the whole let's play of this adventure we've been having?
My first ever Sonic game that I've ever owned. It's always going to have a special place in my heart. I love it. Tails, my favorite characters in it. This is his first appearance. This is like a golden game. You can never get me to sell this game on eBay or give this game up. I've had the original cartridge since I was a kid. Even though I lost my Genesis, I've kept the cartridge.
What about you, Jim?
Yeah, probably the best of the classic games. There's a little charm to it that Sonic 3 Knuckles can't outdo.
It does. It has its own custom physics that are missing in Sonic 3 and definitely Sonic 1.
Yeah, I definitely see what you guys are saying there. Like, I still think that this one's the most unique one out of the bunch. Because as I said, like, it pushes more into the industry, much more dark and stuff. Even though, like, some of the stages I have said that are quite long and I just want to get out of there, it still feels much more enjoyable to me when I do go through the stages again, when I replay it. And I just explore more stuff and new places. And not to mention that Super Sonic is definitely my favorite out of this game. Because it's just normal, it's natural, it doesn't need like a homing attack in the hypersonic mode for Sonic 3 Knuckles. Pretty cool.
Yep, I agree. And you know, Supersonic to me jumped higher in this game than he did in Sonic 3. I don't know what it is that makes me feel that way, but it just felt so smoother. He felt like he was like floating on butter.
Is there any last thoughts?
Collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds. That's all I can say. This game is worth it when you do.
Okay, cool.
Or you just end it.
Yeah. And I will end it right there. So thanks for you guys having been a guest, and thanks for Sith426 for advertising videos, www.youtube.com/Sith426, and I'll see you guys later, so see ya.